What is up, y'all? Welcome to Last Week on Instagram. This is a series where we look at some of the posts I made last week on my Rakely Instagram page and provide more context into what we were discussing beyond the short form content that you have to use to get boosted in the algorithm. So let's jump into it. All right, so our first video we're going to look at is why Phelps is the Rakely template. Okay, so we go look at the comments. So I think one right here, we look at this comment. I think it's the training and the suits. Because Phelps, these guys aren't that much faster than Phelps was. And this is back in a more archaic time of training. Excuse me. Luca has changed his stroke since then. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to take credit for this, but I did try and get Luca on an NIL deal 2023, I think. He was injured at the time. And I sent him some stuff to look at, like, hey, check this out. If you like it, let's do it. All of a sudden, he comes back with a better butterfly technique. And specifically, it's, this Phelps stuff. But the technique is also easier on the shoulders, and he definitely has a much lower reaching up recovery than he had back then. So I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna take claim, but it's quite the coincidence. But with Milok, Marchand, and Phelps, they all have the same skeleton in their butterfly. I mean, like a structure, a movement pattern, not necessarily explosiveness or muscle contractions or tendon elasticity. Like if you were just watching a skeleton move, you would recognize that it's the same, especially between Phelps and Milok. Marchand is a little bit different. I would call it a little less refined than Phelps and Milok. But essentially, if we watch this video, you can see the difference. And he uses his butt going up to bring his hands in. And as his body goes down, you gotta think, for his hands to stay on the surface as his body goes down, his hands are traveling the opposite direction away from his body, right? So if my hand's here, if I go away, my hand's gonna come with me. So my hand has to go the opposite direction to stay in that spot. So when Phelps is going down like that, his hands are going the opposite direction. Now, if he did not go down with his chest, his hand would just go up. Okay, so you combine that his chest press is happening while his hand is going the opposite direction, while his butt is going up. He's spending very little time in vertical. Now, Phelps also has a very flat breath. We can see this because of how much his chin is tilted, right? Like if you're gonna, really drag your hips at the bottom of the pool and have your chin tilted, you're gonna be breathing upwards. He's not like that, right? He has his chin fully forward, which means he's probably flat. So his vertical or his uphill part of his butterfly is very flat, and he gets out of it very quickly. Where even like if we look at Tom Shields above him, you'll see Tom's hands hit the water and then his butt comes up. Whereas Phelps' butt comes up and then his hands hit the water, right? So that alone is a huge, and then on top of that, because his chest press is down and his hands are staying up while his chest press goes down, he can get right into his catch and right into his up kick. So you combine those things, you have a huge efficiency advantage. And when we check, the outlier things that are going on, like he is not just a, Olympic champion, a world record holder butterflyer, but he was outclassing people. Like here he is beating Tom Shields by body length, before they hit 150 meters. So it's not like he was just that good. He was like beyond that. So it's like, okay, if he's that efficient, I want that for my swimmers. So that's why he became the template. And then you start seeing the next fastest two flyers swimming the same way, and the next fastest two flyers swimming the same way. It's not a coincidence, guys. It's called approximative intelligence, where you have these outlier things while everybody else is swimming the same way. And you may say, yeah, like, obviously, we can get a very consistent result swimming the same way where the hands hit and then we kick the hands in. But we want to find the commonalities in the more elite stuff. And boom. All right, let's move on to our next one. So this is the race club. So I see right here, mid 2010s. So I believe I found this video in, I believe, 2014. No, 2013. It was towards the end of college because I was trying to figure out sprint freestyle. If you are a Longhorn or familiar with the Longhorns, we were notoriously poor sprinters. Not poor sprinters, but we're not known for sprinting, nor is that something that we're competitive in. There we go. That's the best way to say it. So as I'm watching this, I didn't know what a lift phase was in swimming. So this made this a really confusing thing for me to watch, especially as a circle, because you would think the green part of the circle would be the front part of the recovery. So really, if you take this clock and you twist it to where the green is actually going down, you would actually achieve your a more ideal drawing, because that front part of that going down of the stroke makes more sense if it's at 12 o'clock or at 3 o'clock, because that's the surface of the water, going down to 6. And the propulsive phase would be that like 4 or 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And then your exit would be, that 8 to 10, and then your recovery happens from that 10 back through the 8 to 3. So that was like one of the first mental hangups I had. But then once I went and learned under David Marsh and got into coaching and then started having to make sense of things my own self, the bouncing came up. It's like, okay, I can see how this is the lift phase, because that front part of the stroke is literally creating lift. And to me, their content during the 2010s, if you were maximizing today's race club content, you would have had to have watched their 2010s content, where they really broke down like the knowledge behind the stroke techniques, so that when you're learning what they're teaching now, all the things you're doing make more sense, right? And for me personally with the race club, that's why some of their stuff I'll see and it's like, I don't like it, because it like it's not congruent with their older stuff. Now, obviously, we should grow and get better, but then they're not saying like, hey, we thought this before, this is what we think now. Or they're not making what they know now fit into the context of what their fundamental belief is, like this. So, once again, it's like a 5-video series. This is from the first one where they just described the whole thing. Then you have the lift phase, which is its own video. Might be 6 videos, because there might be a conclusion, but it's definitely, they cover each phase. And then the first one, like I said, is this video where they pretty much introduce you to all the concepts. But I loved learning about this stuff. And like I said, a lot of it didn't make sense. It was a little confusing, but I just stored it away in the brain. And then when the time came to access it, I was ready to access it and use it. So shout out to the Race Club. Really like their content. Especially in that mid-2010s era, as a swimmer who was trying to learn how to swim fast. In our final video, let's listen. But it's because it avoids so many things created by swimming flat. Now, swimming flat can place a hard ceiling on your freestyle potential, and the reason why is because when we pull, the least path of resistance for that pull is going to be that elbow to just naturally dip out, which opens our chest up, which means we're making less power and thus limiting our freestyle potential. Additionally, the moment any type of rotation is added, we know that bicep is going to open, we're going to lose some power, but for my fingertips to go to the bottom of the pool, this means immediately once a rotation happens and I'm pulling in a straight line, I'm now pushing myself sideways, limiting your upside. And then your only solution now is to either pull way out here awkwardly, where you're gonna have less power, or you gotta teach your swimmer some awkwardness where at the top of their pull, they need to feel like they're crossing their midline to actually pull in an actual straight line. It's just unnecessary. It's no mystery. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to cut all that out. But this fifth one is a huge factor, and it's that when you pull, the upper arm goes into the air. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. But in general, I use this kind of interchangeably, and it's when you look down, you're usually swimming, excuse me, with your arm next to your head instead of underneath your chin, right? Or a high head position. Okay? Same difference. And when you swim with a high head position in the water, right? If I'm flat and my arm is here, if I just let gravity take over, it's going straight down. And it's going to be underneath my chest where I can get to my power. So we're naturally setting our swimmers up to make power, whether that's long distance swimming or especially sprinting. So, and a lot of swimmers tend to struggle. Let's say the majority, right? You always have some who end up being good sprinters just for whatever reason. But this is a reason why swimmers struggle with their sprinting when they hit their 13, 14 or find hard ceilings on their 100 freestyles. It's because they're pulling, or they learn to swim up here. All right, now you can still be underneath here, have a high elbow catch that goes wide, but now I'm still in front of my torso, my chest and in front of my torso, which is what we want to be. Once again, when you're swimming with your arm next to your head, now we got to think, right? If I'm here and I let gravity take over, I'm just arms dropping in front of my torso. But also from this position, if I try and push water back, I'm going to just push back this way underneath me. Whereas if I'm here and I go to push water back, I'm probably going to end up here. So I've already just completely disengaged my bicep from my chest, which is how I make my power in my for freestyle, sprint, freestyle, or middle distance. The application per race just depends on how wide that hand is relative to your elbow positioning. But like it said, if I'm swimming flat or I'm swimming with my head down or with a low head, inline head position, I'm probably going to push water back this way. I just disengage my chest muscle. I'm losing a ton of power. And that's just naturally what is going to occur. You'll see it in almost every swimmer who swims flat. And the biggest issue that happens with this is this 4 and 5 here. Okay? So if I'm on my side, I'm swimming here like this, I'm going to go here, and then to make sure my hand goes to the bottom of the pool when I pull, my fingertips go here. I have disengaged my chest in like the worst way, right? Boom. And now the moment I go to roll, if I'm pulling in a straight line, that would be right here. If I'm pulling in a straight line here, it would be right here. All right, now if I roll as I'm pulling, you can see how my hand is traveling out this way, which means I'm gonna push, my bad, keep it in front of me. I'm gonna push myself sideways. I don't want that to happen. All right, additionally, same thing, if I'm here and I go to the bottom of the pool and then I roll, boom, okay? My straight line pull, because our body is neurologically programmed as swimmers, it can interpret straight line as the same thing. It can interpret it the hand at the bottom of the pool, which once again, is usually not going to happen the same way that pushing water back means I'm probably gonna go here rather than here. Okay, so we're trying to make swimming fast natural, or making power in the pool natural. So once again, I'm going to disengage my chest, then I'm gonna roll. Because I'm swimming in this straight line right here, or no, my bad, I'd be pulling like this, right? The moment that I go to roll, boom, my hand is traveling wide. So I push myself sideways again. Okay, so it's just when you swim with this with this look down body line, with this flat body line, you just set yourself up for some unnecessary mistakes that are just completely unnecessary. So that's what I said. It's unnecessary. And this fifth thing, and this will happen a lot, is that athlete, because they're pulling in that straight line right here, right down in front of me. Boom, straight line. My hand is going in a straight line. When I roll, my bicep, because it went wide, the moment I get halfway, my bicep is almost on the surface. If I keep going, it's in the water or in the air. And my hand just naturally exits a lot earlier too. So I'm limiting my ability to produce propulsion. So I'm less powerful. I'm pushing myself sideways. And I'm not creating as much propulsion because most of my arm is in the air, right? So it's just Sorry, guys. It's a huge unnecessary risk to take for your athletes when you can just have them put their hand underneath their chin or have a high head position, and it's going to solve all of those errors right away, and they get to grow up with being able to produce more propulsion. So it's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. So that's our 3 topics. Thank you for hanging out. I hope y'all learned something. Please hit the noti bell. Please leave a like and subscribe. Help boost us in the algorithm so we can get these solutions to the people that need them. And I'll catch y'all later. Peace.